Peace be upon you, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into some of the lesser-known, yet incredibly powerful stories of the prophets. These aren't the tales you hear every day, but they are filled with profound lessons that can truly strengthen our faith and give us a fresh perspective on our own struggles. Sometimes, it's in the quiet, untold moments of their lives that we find the most relatable and inspiring guidance. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's journey back in time together. We often hear about the grand miracles and major events in the lives of the prophets, like Musa splitting the sea or Isa healing the sick. But what about the smaller, more personal trials they faced? What about the moments of quiet contemplation, the private conversations, or the struggles that weren't recorded in the main headlines of their lives? These are the stories that show us their human side, their unwavering patience, and their absolute trust in God, even when things seemed bleak. Let's start with Prophet Yusuf, or Joseph. We all know the famous story of his coat of many colors, being thrown into a well by his brothers, and his rise to power in Egypt. But let's look closer at his time in prison. This wasn't a short stay. He was imprisoned for several years, unjustly. Imagine the mental and emotional toll. Yet, even in the darkness of a dungeon, Yusuf didn't despair. He turned his prison into a place of dawah, of calling others to God. He used his wisdom to interpret the dreams of his fellow prisoners, not for personal gain, but to guide them towards monotheism. This untold part of his story teaches us a powerful lesson about resilience. No matter how dark our situation, no matter how unjust our circumstances feel, we have a choice. We can either succumb to despair, or we can find a purpose, a way to bring light into that darkness. Yusuf transformed his personal trial into an opportunity for service and faith. He knew that his situation was temporary and that God's plan was unfolding. It's a beautiful reminder that our worth and our mission aren't defined by our physical surroundings, but by our connection to the divine. Now, let's journey to the story of Prophet Ayyub, or Job. His name is synonymous with patience. We know he lost his wealth, his children, and his health. But the part of the story we often skim over is the social isolation he endured. People who once admired him now avoided him. Some even whispered that he must have committed some terrible sin to deserve such punishment. Can you imagine? Not only are you in immense physical pain, but the people around you, your community, turn their backs and judge you. This is a deeply human struggle. The need for community, for support, is wired into us. Yet, Ayyub's response was not bitterness towards people or anger at God. His famous prayer was not a complaint. He said, "Indeed, adversity has touched me, and you are the most merciful of the merciful." He didn't demand a cure. He simply stated his condition and affirmed God's mercy. He maintained his dignity and his unwavering faith in God's ultimate wisdom and compassion. This story isn't just about enduring physical pain. It's about enduring emotional and social pain with grace, holding on to the belief that God is closer to us than anyone else, especially when we feel most alone. Next, let's consider Prophet Yunus, or Jonah. The story of him being swallowed by a great fish is iconic. But what happened after he was saved? The Qur'an tells us that he was cast onto a shore, weak and ill. And what did God do? He caused a gourd plant to grow over him, providing shade and nourishment. This is such a subtle, gentle detail, but it's incredibly profound. After a terrifying, life-altering ordeal, God's response was one of tender care. It wasn't another grand, booming miracle. It was the simple, nurturing shade of a plant. This teaches us that God's mercy often manifests in the small, simple things in our lives. After a period of immense difficulty, our recovery might not be a sudden explosion of good fortune. It might be a kind word from a friend, a moment of peace, a small success that gives us the strength to keep going. It's a reminder to look for God's mercy in the gourd plants of our own lives, the small blessings that provide us shade and comfort on our journey to recovery. It shows us a nurturing, compassionate side of the divine that is sometimes overlooked in the grander narratives. Let's also reflect on the life of Prophet Zechariah, or Zechariah. We know he prayed for a child in his old age, and his prayer was answered with the news of Yahya, or John the Baptist. But think about the years, the decades, that he prayed for this. Day after day, year after year, he and his wife longed for a child, yet their prayer went unanswered. In a society that often measured a person's worth by their offspring, this must have been a heavy burden. The untold story here is the story of quiet, persistent, and hopeful prayer. Zachariah never gave up. His famous prayer, "My Lord, my bones have weakened and my head has filled with white, but never have I been in my supplication to you, my Lord, unhappy," is so touching. He is acknowledging his old age and the apparent impossibility of his request, yet he affirms his unwavering trust and hope in God's generosity. This story isn't about the miracle of a child being born. It's about the decades of faith that preceded it. It teaches us the beauty of consistent prayer, of talking to God even when we don't see immediate results, trusting that He is the best of planners and that there is wisdom in His timing. Finally, let's look at our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. His life is filled with well-documented events, but one of the most moving periods is the year of sorrow. In a short span of time, he lost his beloved wife Khadijah, who was his greatest supporter and comfort, and his uncle Abu Talib, who was his protector in Mecca. He was left emotionally vulnerable and politically exposed. Following this, he traveled to the city of Taif, hoping its people would accept his message. Instead, he was met with the worst rejection of his entire prophetic mission. They mocked him, and they had their children chase him out of the city, throwing stones at him until his feet bled. Injured and heartbroken, he took refuge in an orchard. At this absolute low point, the angel Jibril appeared and offered him the chance to have the city of Taif crushed between two mountains. What would most of us do in that situation, filled with pain and righteous anger? But the prophet's response, that is the untold part of the story that reveals his immense character. He refused. Instead, he prayed for the people of Taif. He prayed, "O Allah, guide my people, for they do not know." He prayed that perhaps their descendants would one day worship God alone. This is mercy in its purest form. In his deepest moment of personal pain and rejection, his first thought was not revenge, but mercy and guidance for the very people who had hurt him. This is a level of compassion that is almost superhuman, and it is a powerful lesson for us. When we are hurt, when we are wronged, can we find it in our hearts to pray for the guidance of those who have wronged us? These stories, these hidden gems from the lives of the prophets, show us that faith isn't just about witnessing grand miracles. It's about patience in prison. It's about grace in the face of social rejection. It's about recognizing God's gentle care after a storm. It's about decades of hopeful prayer, and it's about showing mercy when you have every right to be angry. These prophets were human. They felt pain, sorrow, and loneliness, but they channeled these human emotions into a deeper connection with God. Their stories are not just historical accounts. They are blueprints for our own lives. They give us the tools to navigate our own trials with faith, patience, and hope. When you feel stuck, remember Yusuf in the well and the prison. When you feel isolated and judged, remember Ayub. When you are recovering from a difficulty, look for your gourd plant, like Yunus did. When your prayers feel unanswered, remember the decades of Zachariah's supplication. And when you are hurt by others, remember the mercy of Prophet Muhammad in Taif. By reflecting on these untold stories, our faith is not just strengthened, it becomes more mature, more resilient, and more compassionate. It allows us to see God's wisdom and mercy in every aspect of our lives, not just in the highs, but especially in the lows. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey today. I hope these stories have touched your heart as much as they have touched mine. Let me know in the comments which prophet's story inspires you the most, or if there's another untold story you'd like to share. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. Until next time, stay blessed and keep the faith. Peace be upon you.